everybody, we're the Highwaymen, and today we've got a topic for you. We're talking mobility scooters. My name's Jason.
Hello, everybody. I'm Steve, and you can't beat a good mobility scooter, especially when they're all zooped up, about the size of a small juggernaut.
Well, I mean, where do we start? I mean, I think they are brilliant to help people with mobility issues, but I also think they are the absolute kiss of death for people with mobility issues.
I think they're just an excuse for fat people to get even more fat.
Well, do you know what? The first time that I really saw mobility scooters, I was in Disney World in Florida, and I saw a lot of very, very overweight people driving around on these mobility scooters, just queue jumping because they could get in the disabled queues. And it's like we're all sitting here walking around trying to get on these blinking rides. An old lardy arse over there just zipping on along with a big burger meal in the basket on the front, zipping in the queue and jumping the queue. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're just overweight.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with people that genuinely need them. Elderly people that really are brilliant, absolutely brilliant. But no, there is a place in Skegness that rents these out by the hour. So you don't need to go and prove you're disabled. You and I could just go and rock up there and rent one out. So all through the bloody summer season, you just get chip-eating burger wallers riding around on these freaking things, loading them up with McDonald's and whatever else they can manage to get. Oh, and if they've come from Nottingham, probably got their little spotty-ass kids hanging off of it as well, so that they can ride around with them.
Bit of Nottingham hate.
They might be more from Sheffield thinking about it.
Ooh,
anyway,
you're dissing two counties now. Probably from Leicestershire.
Anyway, they're the scourge of the place. Absolute scourge for all the reasons that you've just said. They just tool around on them, no regard for anybody or anything.
Have you ever seen Benidorm?
Yes, Madge.
Okay, so Benidorm is kind of where they're from. I mean, Steve said about people tooling around on them. So there's a show called Benidorm, and there's one of the characters, a comedy show, and there's a comedy character called Madge.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Barron, but I have to inform you. Oh, you failed your driving test.
I don't know what you're cracking jokes for. Your 16-year-old daughter lying pregnant in the next room.
Who goes everywhere on this little skinny lady who goes everywhere on this mobility scooter, and they have become a bit of a cult thing. And if you go to Benidorm, there are shops that hire them out because, you know, people on stag do's and hen do's, they want to hire them out. You can buy a double one now. I mean, it's become a thing.
Double Madge. That actually does look like Madge. That's Madge.
That's probably why they've got them in Skegness. Skegness is a small kind of touristy area of Lincolnshire. It's not the best place, to be fair. However, I don't want to hate on Lincolnshire any more than I already do. It's become a cool thing. So people go there and they kind of hire them out as kind of a bit of a fun thing rather than that they need them. But I think, going back to what you said, you know, they're a great tool for people who have mobility issues. But the problem is if you've got mobility issues and you stop walking, then your mobility issues are going to become much worse. If you're overweight and you start using a mobility scooter, it is the kiss of death. You're far better off to try not to use a mobility scooter, to walk a lot more, lose some weight, and do yourself a favour.
Some of these are morphing into beyond just a vehicle to get people with disabilities around. There's now some that look like a Rolls Royce. They've got big bloody car things on the front. There's other ones that have got big long forks like a chopper. There's others.
Or the mirrors like a scooter.
Back wheels.
Yeah.
It's
a cult.
Back wheels on the thing. Yeah, it's like, for God's sake, what are you doing? And the other thing is, I don't know if you know this, but there's two different types. Not how they look. So there's ones that are designed to be ridden on the pavement, and they're limited to 4 miles an hour. And then there's road-going ones, which I think is something like, I do up to 20 miles an hour, these things. And they're bloody hell. They fly around like little wasps just trying to nip at your ankles. Only thing is, they don't nip at your ankle. There's like half a ton of freaking battery and lard encrusted freaking metal smashing into the back of your legs. So you're going to end up with broken legs and ankles needing a freaking mobility scooter. So all it does is it just compounds it.
I think the worst thing for me is, like I say, if I see someone who's just big on them, and I just think you need it. Your problem is not
get off it.
It's exercise. You need exercise. You need to get off there, because the less you walk, the worse your muscles are going to be, and the worse it's going to get. As we get older, we get a few aches and pains, and sometimes we struggle with things. I struggle with walking some days because I've got a bit of a back issue. It doesn't stop me. I go every single day because I don't want to be somebody who can't move around and stuff. So if you're contemplating a mobility scooter to solve your mobility issues, still try and walk as much as you can.
There we are. And that's it. And they are banned from Skegness from this point on.
Oh, you're banning them. You are now the new mayor of Skegness, and you're banning them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, if you run for
they are banned. Well, no, there's certain places they can go.
I think you should have to prove your requirement for having them.
That's it. That's exactly it. So you have to do some form of I've no idea what it would be, but you'd have to be able to prove. Actually, I do know. I remember this from my days in the motor trade, that people get mobility allowance, and they get it at either the lower rate or the higher rate. And if they got it at the higher rate, they could choose to use that money to lease a car for 3 years off Arnold Clark, and they would have a brand new car for 3 years, you see. And so that's what they've got to produce. They've got to be able to produce, not the low rate. No, you're fine. You can walk or get a bus or do something else like normal people do. If it's at the higher rate, fair enough. But then I think they ought to need to, because it could be that they get it and they're blind, for example.
Yes.
It doesn't stop them walking, does it?
Well, to be honest, you don't want to be on a mobility scooter if you're blind. That's going to be a recipe for disaster, isn't it?
Probably couldn't be much worse than freaking 28 stone.
You have so you need like parking meters all the way around, don't you? So you go like, oh shit, oh dear, Steve, what are you even saying? I think you've been on the sherry this afternoon, haven't you?
Well, I did have a sniff. Thank
you very much for watching. That's Mobility Scooters. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.